You feel tired all the time, but not the kind of tiredness sleep can fix. It's a deeper exhaustion. Your mind feels crowded. Your emotions feel unstable. Lately, even small things knock you off balance. What makes it worse is this. On the surface, nothing looks wrong. You're functioning. You're showing up. You're doing what's required. Yet inside, something is leaking. Your focus, your calm, your sense of control. Here's the hard truth most people avoid. You're not drained because life is too hard. You're drained because your inner discipline has been slowly eroded, quietly, day by day. The ancient Stoics understood this long before burnout had a name. They knew energy doesn't disappear randomly. It's lost through uncontrolled attention, emotional reactions, comfort, and misplaced priorities. This video isn't about motivation. It's not about positive thinking or quick relief. It's about rebuilding your energy at the root by restoring control over your mind. If you're ready to stop feeling mentally drained and start standing firm again, let's begin. Lesson 1. You're not tired, you're overstimulated. Most people think they're exhausted because they work too hard. But if you're honest, that's rarely the truth. You're not collapsing at night because you lifted heavy weight, built something meaningful, or faced real resistance. You're drained because your mind has been pulled in 100 directions all day, without rest, without boundaries, without silence. Your energy isn't disappearing. It's being bled out through constant stimulation. From the moment you wake up, your attention is under attack. Notifications, news, messages, opinions, noise, comparison, outrage disguised as information. Your mind never gets to close its fists. It stays open, reactive, scattered. And here's the cost most people don't see. Every time your attention jumps, your nervous system pays for it. Every unnecessary input demands a response, even if you don't consciously notice it. This is why you feel tired without doing anything hard. Your brain has been sprinting all day while your body stayed still. The Stoics understood something brutally simple. Energy follows attention. Where your attention goes, your life force follows. They didn't fear silence. They trained for it. In modern life, silence feels uncomfortable, even threatening. When there's no noise, your thoughts get louder, your emotions surface, and instead of facing them, most people reach for distraction. Scroll, refresh, consume, repeat. But relief through stimulation is a lie. It doesn't recharge you. It only postpones the crash. True recovery doesn't come from more input. It comes from less noise, less reaction, less unnecessary exposure to things you cannot control. This is where most people resist, because boredom feels like emptiness. But the Stoics knew better. Silence is not empty. Silence is where your nervous system recalibrates. Silence is where your mind regains weight and gravity. If you want your energy back, you must reclaim your attention. That means choosing periods of deliberate quiet, not as a luxury, but as discipline. No phone, no media, no conversations, no mental grazing, just you, your breath, and the moment. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is withdrawal, not weakness. Stay with it. Every minute you stop feeding the noise, your mind starts repairing itself. Your thoughts slow down, your reactions soften, your energy stops leaking. Start small. 30 minutes a day. No input, no justification, no multitasking, no productivity spin. Just stillness. This is not laziness. This is strength training for your attention. And once your attention becomes steady again, something unexpected happens. You don't just feel less tired, you feel present. And presence is the foundation of real power. Lesson 2. Emotional leaks are killing your strength. You don't lose energy all at once. You lose it in small, invisible moments, every time you react when you didn't need to. A comment that lingers longer than it should. A message that shifts your mood for hours. A situation you replay again and again, even though it's already over. These moments feel harmless, but together they drain you more than any physical effort ever could. Most people believe emotions just happen to them. The Stoics strongly disagreed. They understood that what exhausts a person is not emotion itself. It's uncontrolled emotional reaction. When you react instantly, your energy leaks outward. You explain, you defend, you replay, you imagine different outcomes. Your mind stays in motion long after the moment has passed. This is why you feel mentally tired at the end of the day, even if nothing dramatic happened. Your energy was spent reacting, not acting. The Stoic solution is simple, but not easy. Create a pause between stimulus and response. Not suppression, not denial. Space. When something triggers you, the untrained mind reacts immediately. The trained mind observes first. That pause is where strength lives. Without it, other people, their words, moods, opinions, control your nervous system. With it, you regain command. Most emotional leaks come from one habit: taking things personally that were never meant for you to carry. Someone speaks carelessly, you absorb it. Someone is distant, you assume meaning. Someone disagrees, you feel attacked. Every time you do this, you donate energy to something outside your control. The Stoics warned against this pattern. They taught that external events are neutral. It is your judgment that gives them power. When you react automatically, you confirm the judgment without questioning it. And once confirmed, the emotional cost follows. This is where discipline replaces impulse. The practice isn't dramatic. It's quiet. When you feel the surge, irritation, defensiveness, anxiety, do nothing for a moment. Breathe. Name what's happening internally. Ask one question: is this worth my energy? Most of the time, the honest answer is no. That pause alone saves more energy than any motivational trick. Every reaction you don't feed fades quickly. Every reaction you indulge grows roots. Slowly, something changes. You stop feeling dragged around by the day. Your emotions stop hijacking your focus. Your mind feels calmer, not because life is easier, but because you're no longer leaking strength. This isn't emotional numbness. It's emotional sovereignty, and sovereignty is power. When you stop reacting to everything, your energy consolidates. It returns inward. It becomes usable again. You don't feel lighter because problems disappear. You feel lighter because you stopped carrying what was never yours. That's how real strength begins. Lesson 3. You're carrying burdens that aren't yours. One of the fastest ways to lose energy is to carry weight that was never meant for you. Not physical weight, mental weight, emotional weight, invisible obligations you accept without realizing the cost. You feel responsible for how others feel. You replay conversations, wondering if you said the wrong thing. You absorb tension in a room even when you didn't create it. You take on guilt for outcomes you never controlled. Slowly, your strength drains away. Most people don't notice this because it feels like being kind, understanding, or mature. In reality, it's emotional overreach. The Stoics were ruthless about this distinction. They believed peace and energy come from knowing exactly where your responsibility ends. Not everything that affects you belongs to you. Other people's moods are not your duty. Their expectations are not your commands. Their disappointments are not your failures. Yet many people live as if they are. This creates constant background tension, a low-grade pressure that never shuts off. Your mind stays alert, monitoring reactions, anticipating needs, adjusting yourself to keep others comfortable. That vigilance is exhausting. You are not built to manage everyone's inner world. The Stoic principle that cuts through this illusion is simple. Focus only on what is truly yours: your choices, your values, your actions. Everything else is external. When you blur that line, you leak energy continuously. You try to fix what cannot be fixed. You carry what cannot be resolved. And the price is clarity. Notice how drained you feel after being around people who demand emotional labor. Not because they said anything harsh, but because you were internally negotiating the entire time. That negotiation is silent, but it's costly. The Stoics didn't advocate indifference. They advocated precision, care without attachment, responsibility without self-erasure. This begins with one hard but freeing realization. You're not obligated to explain yourself endlessly, absorb discomfort for others, or take responsibility for reactions you didn't cause. Your energy returns the moment you stop over-functioning emotionally. A simple practice reveals where your strength is misplaced. Write down 3 things that have been weighing on your mind lately. Then ask one question for each. Is this truly within my control? If the answer is no, that weight does not belong to you. Releasing it may feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is not guilt. It's unfamiliar freedom. When you stop carrying other people's burdens, something shifts. Your thoughts become quieter. Your decisions become cleaner. Your energy stops scattering outward. You don't become cold. You become grounded. And grounded people don't burn out easily. They walk lighter. They think clearer. They conserve strength for what actually matters. This lesson is not about doing less. It's about carrying less. And when you put down what was never yours, you finally have the energy to stand fully in what is. Lesson 4. Comfort has made you weak and drained. Most people assume comfort restores energy. The Stoics saw the opposite. They observed that the more a person avoids discomfort, the more fragile the mind becomes. And a fragile mind burns energy faster than any hard life ever could. Look closely at modern exhaustion. It isn't caused by extreme hardship. It's caused by constant avoidance, avoiding boredom, difficulty, tension, effort, unless it feels good first. Life has been softened everywhere: temperature, food, work, conversation, expectations. And yet people feel more tired, not less. That's not a coincidence. When your nervous system never faces resistance, it loses the ability to regulate stress. Small challenges feel overwhelming. Minor discomfort feels like a threat. Your body stays in a low-level state of anxiety. That anxiety is exhausting. The Stoics trained against this by doing something that sounds backwards. They voluntarily chose discomfort, not to punish themselves, not to suffer needlessly, but to remind the mind, I can endure cold, hunger, silence, hard conversations, physical effort when motivation is low. These weren't extremes, they were calibrations. Comfort dulls perception, discomfort sharpens it. When everything is easy, the mind never learns restraint. When something is hard by choice, the mind relearns confidence. This is why comfort drains energy over time. It removes the contrast that gives effort meaning. Without resistance, there is no inner strength to draw from. Without inner strength, every inconvenience feels heavy. The Stoics didn't wait for life to toughen them. They trained in advance. They understood resilience is built before a crisis arrives, not during it. Discomfort is not the enemy of energy. Avoidance is. When you consistently choose what's easy, your tolerance shrinks. When you choose small, controlled discomfort, your capacity expands. And capacity is energy. Start noticing where your life has become too padded, where you delay difficult conversations, where you escape boredom instantly, where you wait for the perfect mood before acting. These moments feel harmless, but they're training weakness. The Stoic correction is simple and precise. Choose one discomfort each day intentionally. Something small, but real. Cold water, physical effort, sitting with silence instead of reaching for distraction. Speaking the truth without softening it to be liked. Do it without drama. Do it without announcing it. Just do it. At first, your mind will resist. That resistance is the muscle you're training. Over time, something powerful happens. Confidence grows quietly. Tolerance increases. Energy stabilizes. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. Comfort makes you fragile. Chosen discomfort makes you durable. And durable minds don't drain easily. Lesson 5. You've lost structure, and structure is energy. Chaos doesn't just confuse the mind, it drains it. Many people believe they're tired because they're doing too much. In reality, they're exhausted because nothing in their day has a clear shape. They wake up without fixed direction. They react instead of initiate. They drift from task to task, thought to thought, obligation to obligation. That mental drift is expensive. When there's no structure, the brain is forced to make constant decisions. What to do next? What matters? What can wait? Each decision pulls from the same limited reserve. By the end of the day, you feel depleted. Not from effort, but from decision fatigue. The Stoics understood this intuitively. They valued order not as rigidity, but but as conservation. Structure reduces friction. Friction drains energy. A disciplined life removes unnecessary choice, so strength can be directed where it matters. This is why disorder feels heavy and order feels calm. Look at how you start your day. If your morning has no fixed rhythm, your nervous system begins in a reactive state. From that moment on, the day controls you. The Stoic approach is simple and uncompromising. Establish non-negotiable anchors, not goals, not moods. Anchors: fixed wake time, fixed first action, fixed boundaries around when work begins and ends. These aren't productivity hacks, they're energy management tools. When your body and mind know what comes next, resistance drops. You stop negotiating with yourself. Energy stops leaking through hesitation. Structure doesn't limit freedom, it creates it. Without structure, even rest feels restless. With structure, effort becomes sustainable. Most people wait for motivation to create order. The Stoics reversed this logic. Order comes first. Motivation follows. When your day has a spine, your mind relaxes. It no longer braces for chaos. This is why disciplined people appear calmer under pressure. Their systems are already in place. They don't decide how to act each morning. They execute. Begin by simplifying, not adding. Choose 3 non-negotiables for your day. 1 physical, 1 mental, 1 responsibility you complete regardless of mood. Everything else stays flexible. That small framework alone returns more energy than endless optimization. Every time you remove indecision, you reclaim strength. Over time, structure does something deeper. It rebuilds self-trust. You stop wondering whether you'll show up. You already know you will. That certainty removes anxiety. Energy isn't only physical, it's psychological. A mind that trusts itself doesn't burn fuel worrying about its own reliability. Structure is proof you can rely on yourself. When structure returns, chaos retreats. When chaos retreats, energy stabilizes. This isn't about becoming rigid, it's about becoming stable. And stability is the quiet foundation of strength. Lesson 6. You're tired because you care about the wrong things. Energy is not lost randomly. It is spent, often on things that were never worth the cost. Most people feel drained, not because life demands too much, but because their attention is invested in the wrong places. They worry about opinions that change weekly. They chase approval that never settles. They compare themselves to lives they don't even want to live. Each time they do, their energy burns quietly in the background. The Stoics warned about this long ago. They understood that misplaced concern is one of the fastest paths to exhaustion. When you care deeply about what you cannot control, your nervous system stays activated. You remain alert, tense, reactive, even when nothing is actually happening. That creates constant internal friction. Think about how much energy is wasted imagining how others see you, replaying conversations, measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. None of that produces strength. It only produces noise. The Stoic correction is not apathy, it is precision. They taught that peace and power come from aligning concern with values, not with ego, fear, or comparison. When values are unclear, everything feels important. When values are clear, most things stop mattering. That clarity is liberating. A man who knows what he stands for doesn't burn energy defending his image. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't argue with strangers inside his own head. He acts according to principle and lets the rest fall away. This is why people without inner direction feel perpetually tired. Their energy is scattered across too many emotional fronts. Every notification feels urgent. Every opinion feels personal. Every distraction feels tempting. The Stoics practiced intentional neglect. They chose not to engage with what diluted their focus, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Energy returns the moment you stop feeding what doesn't serve your character. This requires one uncomfortable shift, letting go of being liked in order to be aligned. When you live by values instead of moods, decisions become simpler, and simple decisions conserve energy. A useful exercise is brutally honest. Write down the 3 values that matter most to you. Not goals, not desires, values. Then ask yourself how much of your daily energy actually goes toward them. The gap between those answers explains your exhaustion. Most people are tired because they are emotionally invested in things that don't move their life forward. When you realign your concern, something subtle happens. Your mind quiets. Your reactions slow. Your energy stops being siphoned off by irrelevance. You don't need to care less. You need to care better. When your energy serves what truly matters, it stops feeling wasted. It starts feeling powerful. Lesson 7. Remember death. It reorders your energy. Nothing clarifies life faster than remembering it will end. Most people avoid this thought because it feels uncomfortable. The Stoics leaned into it, not to become fearful, but to become focused. They understood that much of our exhaustion comes from false urgency. We rush, worry, and overthink things that will not matter. Not in 5 years, not in 1 year, sometimes not even tomorrow. That misalignment quietly drains energy. When you forget time is limited, everything feels equally important. Every distraction competes for attention. Every delay feels harmless. Every excuse feels justified. Your energy scatters across trivial concerns. The Stoic practice of memento mori was designed to correct this, not as a dark obsession, but as a mental reset. When you remember your days are numbered, priorities sharpen instantly. You stop wasting strength on meaningless conflict. You stop postponing necessary action. You stop tolerating a life that drains you slowly. Death awareness doesn't make life smaller, it makes it precise. Notice how exhaustion often comes from procrastination, not effort. From living half-committed, from delaying the work, the conversation, the decision you already know you must make. That internal tension between what you know and what you avoid consumes enormous energy. The Stoics saw this clearly. They believed living as if time were infinite leads to softness, distraction, and regret. Living as if time were scarce leads to presence, discipline, and courage. When you remember death, excuses lose their power. You stop asking, "How do I feel about this today?" You ask, "Is this worth my limited time?" That single question reorganizes your energy. Trivial anxieties shrink. Meaningful actions rise. This is why people who confront mortality often become calmer and more decisive. They stop bleeding energy through indecision. Urgency, when grounded in reality, is not stress. It is fuel. The Stoics didn't rush frantically. They moved deliberately. They knew clarity about the end brings steadiness to the present. You don't need to think about death constantly. You need to remember it honestly. A simple reflection is enough. Ask yourself, if this were my last year, what would I stop worrying about? What would I stop delaying? What would I take responsibility for immediately? The answers are usually obvious, and once seen, they can't be unseen. Energy returns when life stops being vague. When you know time is finite, you protect your attention. You choose battles carefully. You invest strength where it counts. You don't live harder, you live cleaner. Remembering death doesn't drain energy. It eliminates waste, and when waste disappears, what remains is focus, resolve, and quiet intensity. That intensity isn't panic. It's purpose. Lesson 8. Build energy through virtue, not mood. Most people try to manage energy by managing how they feel. They wait to feel motivated. They wait to feel calm. They wait to feel ready. The Stoics saw this as the final trap. Feelings are unstable by nature. They rise and fall with sleep, weather, stress, praise, and countless forces outside your control. If your actions depend on mood, your energy will always be inconsistent. This is why so many people feel strong one day and depleted the next. They chase emotional states instead of building inner structure. The Stoics offered a different foundation: virtue. Virtue is not moral perfection. It is alignment between what you know is right and what you actually do. When your actions match your principles, energy stabilizes. When they don't, energy leaks through internal conflict. That conflict is subtle but constant. You tell yourself you'll act later. You compromise in small ways. You avoid what requires courage. Each compromise seems minor, but together they create self-distrust. And a mind that doesn't trust itself is always tired. The Stoics believed integrity is energizing not because it feels good, but because it removes friction inside the self. When you act according to virtue, there is no inner negotiation, no justification, no second guessing. You conserve enormous mental energy simply by being consistent. This is why disciplined people appear steady regardless of circumstances. They don't rely on enthusiasm, they rely on character. Virtue becomes a source of power because it is available every day, regardless of mood. Courage when you're afraid, temperance when you're tempted, justice when it's inconvenient, wisdom when emotions run high. Each choice strengthens your inner core. Over time, something important happens. You stop asking, "How do I feel today?" You start asking, "What does this moment require of me?" That shift alone changes how energy moves through your life. Energy stops spiking and crashing. It becomes durable. You don't feel energized because life is easy. You feel energized because you're no longer divided against yourself. This is the deepest Stoic lesson. True fatigue often comes from living out of alignment, from knowing what matters and avoiding it, from wanting strength without discipline. Virtue closes that gap. A simple practice makes this real. At the end of each day, ask one question. Did my actions today reflect the kind of person I respect? No self-punishment, no excuses, just honesty. Over time, this reflection builds self-respect, and self-respect is fuel. When you respect yourself, you move with fewer doubts. You hesitate less. You waste less energy on inner conflict. Mood will always fluctuate. Life will always apply pressure. But virtue creates a stable center, and from that center, energy doesn't need to be chased. It flows. You were never broken. You were never weak. And you were never low on energy for no reason. What drained you wasn't effort. It was leakage. Your attention was scattered. Your emotions reacted without pause. You carried burdens that were never yours. You avoided discomfort, lost structure, cared about the wrong things, forgot that time is limited, and waited for mood instead of living by principle. Slowly, your strength slipped away. The Stoics didn't solve exhaustion by resting more. They solved it by living correctly. Energy returns when your mind is ordered, when your reactions are disciplined, when your days have structure, when your values guide your actions, when you stop wasting life force on what doesn't matter. This is not a quick fix. It's a recalibration. You don't rebuild energy by escaping life. You rebuild it by standing firmly inside it. If one lesson from this video stood out, don't admire it. Apply it. Choose one practice, one correction, one boundary, and commit to it quietly. Strength compounds in silence. If this message resonated, let me know in the comments which lesson hit closest to home. And if you're walking this path of discipline, clarity, and inner control, subscribe and continue the journey. Remember this: you don't need more motivation. You don't need more stimulation. You need alignment. When the mind is aligned, energy stops leaking, and power returns.